what happened yesterday in Oyo State. The Secretariat was breached yesterday by pro-Yoruba Nation agitators, and they even attempted or literally hoisted their flags. They've been brought under control as we speak. So you can see some of them being arrested right there, taken away from that vehicle. They invaded the Secretariat, tried to breach the security situation in the State House of Assembly, attempted breaking into the governor's office. It was a brazen situation that the police describes as treasonable at the end of the day. That's why we need to find out what exactly is going on with the secessionist movement with this Odua nation in focus. Let's bring in our expert now, Mr. Kabiru Adamu. He's the CEO of Beacon Consulting Limited and a security expert. Mr. Adamu, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Jeffrey, evening.
Good to see you again. We're here again on on issues like this. Maybe you help. I'm sure you've gotten your intel as to how all of this played out, but help us unpack what you think played out in Ibadan yesterday.
So, I mean, in simple terms, like you've described, it's a group of people who committed treasonable felony, as it were. They attempted to take control of a state government secretariat and simultaneously went on air to declare a nation. What we've not been able to establish is where that declaration occurred, but from all indications, it appears it occurred outside the shores of Nigeria. So it appears it's a combination of some local players who most likely would have been indoctrinated or perhaps were led to believe using most likely black magic of their invisibility. And so they literally walked into the Secretariat thinking that whatever the security forces do to them will not prevent what they wanted to do. But then a group of both the police and the military responded, and we know that arrests have been made and investigations are ongoing at the moment. Some names have come up, including the self-declared leader of the movement, and I'm hoping that the security forces are currently investigating all of this to come up, to put a picture to the puzzle. Because like I said, there are local players and most likely international players. Another aspect that is also extremely surprising is the number of weapons at their disposal. The good news is that they were all pump-action rifles. If those guys had had access to more sophisticated weapons, the story would have been different. The ammunition, apart from the weapons themselves, the quantity of ammunition at their disposal was quite disturbing. This ammunition were not manufactured in Nigeria. The weapons were not manufactured in Nigeria. They came in through the borders, and someone dropped the ball. How they were allowed to come into the border, how they were allowed to plan all of this, how they were allowed to reach the point where they attempted to invade the Secretariat. All of these are puzzles that I'm hoping that the managers of our public security space will unravel.
Mr. Adamu, I didn't reel out the things that were recovered. And I'm wondering, despite the effort of the government with legislation and pronouncement and all of that, why do we have this level of ammunition still coming into our country?
So far, I want to emphasize that what you reeled out is just a tip of the iceberg. But remember, we're at the preliminary stages of this development. There were two arrests, the military arrested and then the police arrested. And sadly, I think each side is bringing out its information and they're not bringing out the information jointly. So by the time they harmonize all the arrests, all the weapons that were recovered and several other things that were recovered, what you just reeled out would be a tip of the iceberg, unfortunately. Now, to your question, for a very long time now, I think since 2012, ECOWAS has recommended for the establishment of a commission for the mopping up of small arms and light weapons in all of the member states. Nigeria is the only ECOWAS member state at the moment that does not have that commission. What we have instead is a center that is domiciled at the office of the National Security Advisor. And that has a lot of challenges. I don't want to go into that. And then you also have another body that is existing almost illegally. And I say this because there is a legislation that has been sent to the president, waiting for the presidential accent. That accent has not been gotten. but then that body is still operating, and you have someone who is heading the commission who is, as it were, functional. So we essentially we don't have a functional commission for the mopping up of small arms and light weapons. The center is doing its best. It has established regional offices across all the 6 regions, but then because it's not yet fully operational, like I said, it's operating under the Office of the National Security Advisor. It does not have a budget. The Office of the National Security Advisor is an advisory office, not an operational one. So it's limited within its capacity. And I'm urging the current administration and the 10th Assembly to please move quickly in terms of ensuring that we have that commission so that we have an independent body that has the capacity to mop up the small arms and light weapons. The police is doing a component of that. And then you also have the military sometimes doing that, and as well as civil defense. But these are all disjointed efforts that cannot produce the result that we want, given the challenge of light weapons that we have in the country at the moment.
All right. One of the things we must strive to achieve is how to avoid a resurgence of this. We understand that even the Osun State government is taking proactive measures to make sure this doesn't happen. Afenifere has condemned this move. I also read somewhere that Sunday Igboho, who is the leader of the Pro Nation, has also absolve himself of all of this. So how do we stop this from happening again, this level of brazen assault, if you will?
Jeffrey, in simple terms, intelligence. We need to increase the ability to harvest and use intelligence. These things don't just happen in one day. A lot would have occurred before what you saw yesterday happened. And that the echo space of what happened yesterday has different indicators. I talked about black magic. I talked about involvement of foreign players. I talked about the use of the cyberspace. So all of these are places where intelligence can be harvested, and that intelligence needs to be made actionable. And so I'm hoping that the presidency, in fact, the president should pick up, issue a tasking order to the several departments that have responsibility for gathering and disseminating intelligence, so that they are able to pick up these things at the early stages. Remember, the essence of intelligence is to forewarn. And once you forewarn, then it is expected that action will be taken to prevent a reoccurrence. Of course, I mean, anyone who knows the Oyo State Secretariat, I know that Secretariat, it's well guarded. The physical security component in that Secretariat is excellent. And so I'm hoping that that is what prevented what could have happened yesterday. I'm not sure of the other 5 southwestern states, whether they have the type of physical security at their Secretariat. And remember, it's not just the Secretariat, the media houses, the government offices, the residence of the governor. So there is so much that as a nation, in terms from a national security perspective, we need to wake up from our slumber, strengthen intelligence, strengthen cohesion, cooperation and collaboration between the various players within the security space. And more importantly, we need to get the buy-in of the people. They are the ones who can support the provision, as it were, of intelligence.
So just one quick question, if you can answer me in 30 seconds. Because intelligence people like you have reasons to look at all sides. Why do you think it's happening in Oyo State?
For a lot of reasons. Oyo State used to be the regional capital of the Southwest. The recent secessionist movement is also rooted in Oyo State. So it's likely that whoever is behind this capitalized on the sentiments that have been evoked by the early, especially during the immediate past administration. Of course, it would have been symbolic if they were successful in Oyo State. It would have reached out. And then we shouldn't even also forget the fact that of the Southwest state, Oyo before now was the only PDP state until recently Osun joined. So all of these are likelihoods. And of course, the border in Oyo State that allows the proliferation of such weapons into the country is also another factor.
Mr. Gabriel Demo, CEO of Beacon Consulting Limited, a security expert, thank you so much for always coming through when we need your services right here on the program. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.